you're fine.
Get somebody in the back to close the doors for me. Thank you so much. Whoa! Screams. How tall was this person before me? Look at this. Jeez. Makes me feel so small. Okay, here we go. Exactly. Welcome, everybody. Come on in. This is, you're joining us for Career in Video Games panel, one of my favorite topics. What I'd like to do is I'd like to do introductions and then dive into the topic. Before I do that, I always give a little speech about how my speakers and I are absolutely here for you guys. And what that means to me is I want to get your questions answered. I want to cover the topics that you want us to cover. And so as we go through, I will be checking my Twitter feed. Hi, welcome, come on in. I'll be checking my Twitter, so if you want to follow me at Genese Davis, is my name up here or down there? Okay, there it is. Just at Genese Davis. And so if Elonka, for example, is talking about something that you really want to hear more about, just tweet me your comment or your question, and I'll be checking it all throughout the panel and trying to incorporate your voice into the panel. And then, of course, I'll have a Q&A at the end, and I just got word that we have prizes for the Q&A at the end. So at the end, if you raise your hand and ask your question, you get some really exciting prizes. Sponsored by David. So round of applause for David for the prizes.
This applause has 3 angles.
Exactly. Love applause. All right, so I'll start. I'm Genese Davis. I am an author of a video game thriller called The Holder's Dominion. I'm also a columnist at MMORPG.com, which is a video game website for online games and RPGs. I was just asked to be a host for a podcast called The Gamer's Dominion that just launched. Yeah, I've been forgetting to incorporate in my speech this weekend. It was so brand new to me. But I also host YouTube videos for MMORPG, and I do moderating and facilitating for Wizard World Comic Cons, San Diego Comic Cons, literary and entertainment expos. And I just had a baby. She's 11 months old, so she travels around with me. So that's me in a nutshell. Elonka.
Hi. Elonka Dunin. I am studio director at Blackgate Games down in Franklin, Tennessee. I've been making games for about 25 years now. Everything from MMOs to social networking games to mobile games, iOS and Android. I also write about cryptography and codes. I have been a consultant to the author Dan Brown, who wrote the book Da Vinci Code. He actually named a character after me in one of his novels. And I'm also an administrator on Wikipedia, so I have a lot of side hobbies as well. But today we're going to be talking about careers in the game industry, one of my favorite topics.
Round of applause for Elonka.
Okay, so I'm David Corrigan. I've been a software developer for 15 years. And about 6 years ago I started my own company doing iOS games, and I'll be moving into Wii U and hopefully other console titles. And I have 3 games in the App Store. The best one is Cowbell Fever. It has licensed music. It's like Guitar Hero, but even better. And I collect arcade games and restore them. Been doing that for a long time.
So. Amazing parties. This entire basement is what, 35 full cabinet games?
Yeah, about 35.
Yeah.
All right, round of applause for the basement. Just to dive in, we're really curious how you knew, how did you know video games was the right career for you? Because there's so many careers out there, and there's actually so many positions in video games that people never even knew existed. I know that I did this panel with a developer for Valve, and he said, we hire psychologists because we want to know how gamers think. And the audience was blown away that they could go into psychology and then get a game in video game development. So I really like these panels that bring to light that there are so many ways to work in games. You don't necessarily have to be the one creating the new species or creating the new zone. You can actually be a psychologist working on developers to think about how gamers get pulled into the game and what annoys them and things like that. So to start off, could you tell us just how you knew the gaming industry was right for you and how you were pulled in? Go ahead, David. Jump in.
Okay. Well, when I started programming, I didn't think there was any way for me to get into video game development. And back then, I guess there wasn't much of a way unless I moved to California or somewhere else. And I I'm from Nashville, always lived here. So after getting kind of burnt out on doing healthcare applications and stuff, when the iPhone and all that started to come out, then there was finally a way for me to do it on my own and still live here. So that's when I started getting into it.
I'd really like that you brought up that point because there are a lot of video game companies in California, in Seattle, in Maryland, and a little bit of the East Coast, and Austin is a huge video game city. And a lot of people do ask, do I have to move to these cities? And a lot of developers have told me, yes, you have to move to where the jobs are. So it is really cool to hear also a new perspective that you can do it from your hometown in a new way. Elonka.
The way I got into it, I was just always a gamer. I didn't have to be video games, even when I was a little girl. And my father was a gamer. We come from a long line of mathematicians, and so he was always inviting people over to play games that weren't even the kind you could get in the store. It was graph paper and plotting out where spaceships were, and which way the missiles were going in space. And so even as a small girl, I played those. And then when the computer games started, I was just naturally playing them. This was the Ultima 1 kind of things. And looking at my diaries back at this when I was in junior high school, it's full of notes, not just about the games I was playing, but I was critiquing those games. This is too hard. I don't like the way they did this. This is dumb. And then it was just kind of a natural progression. When I went to school and I was studying programming languages, so Pascal, and I needed to do a project, I was just naturally doing games as a project. It was just the most natural thing in the world for me. So it wasn't that I felt I had to get into the industry, just I felt I needed to make games.
Absolutely. I love that you brought that up, that you were a natural tester. Like you were testing the game and then making notes on what could be better. That's awesome. I can speak to the writing side of video games if anyone's interested in that aspect. When I started writing folders, I wanted to break the gap between gamers and non-gamers. I would get ribbed for playing video games from my friends, and they would ask, what's these words that you use, like tank and DPS, and why are you busy on Tuesday nights from 6 to 10, and then you can't go anywhere? And so I would try to explain, I was playing Final Fantasy 11 and playing with people from Japan and England and all over the world, and they would say, well, just pause it, or just come on. And so I realized that there was this language barrier. There was a barrier to entry. You had to download the game and learn all the keystrokes. And so that's why I wanted to write a video game thriller. And what that led to was developers asking me to help with lore creation and backstory and writing dialogue. And so if any of you are interested in the writing aspect of video games, I can speak to how you can just be a columnist or a novelist and it transforms into writing for games. I see you nodding.
Yeah, it's one of the things about getting in the game industry. Part of it is increasing your own skill set so that you're hireable. But another part of it is making yourself visible. And writing, absolutely. If you want to get a job in any field, create a blog. Go in and start writing about it. And by writing about it, a potential hiring manager is going to go in and see what you think about things. And not just whether or not they agree with what you say, but that you think clearly about things and that you can articulate what it is that you're thinking about. And that's a very, very valuable skill for a writer or for a game designer.
Absolutely. David, could you give us a little bit of a description of what aspiring video game developers can hear about what you do day to day, and if something sparks their interest, like are you coding your games, are you drawing your games, creating, or do you have a team of people helping you?
Well, I have a very small team. My wife, actually, graphic designer, and then I hire out people just based on the game. So, like Cowbell Fever, I had about 15 people working on it.
What do you look for when you hire out? Do they send you resumes, or do you just look at people's artwork?
Yeah, so for artists, I would get samples of illustrations. I would go to their sites and see what they had done. And sometimes that's a good indicator, sometimes not, because some people they just may not have anything that style on there, or it doesn't mean they can do it. So,
Can I quiz the audience real quick? Who here has already worked in the game industry? Okay. And of those that want to get into the game industry, so there's different fields. There's art, there's programming, there's design, there's quality assurance, there's the business side, marketing, music, and then writing about games, blogging, the whole PR side. So how many people here feel that they are artists? Okay. How many people coders? Okay. designers. Okay. Quality assurance. Okay. Business/marketing.
Awesome.
Music, sound. Wow, this is Nashville.
Very cool.
We're in the Music City Center.
They play
Yeah.
last night.
Have I missed anything?
Writing.
Writing.
Oh, right.
Writing.
Okay.
You write video games. Yes.
So-
Fellow writers.
So for the artists, I would say one way that a lot of artists get hired is that they have a page on a site called DeviantArt, deviantart.com. And so you want to go out there and just keep increasing your body of work is my best advice. Don't worry about whether or not you're hired. Just keep creating art and put that art out there so the world can see it. And DeviantArt is a wonderful site because they have these things called daily deviations. As people are uploading their art every day, the folks in charge of DeviantArt periodically will go, I like that one, I like that one, I like that one. And it goes on the front page. It's called the daily deviation. And I know hiring managers that will go in and scan the daily deviations or other parts of the site and go, oh, I like that style of art. And then they click on that, they go and look at the artist's particular page. They see the other kinds of art that this artist has done, and that gives them a sense of the quality of the work and how prolific they are. And then maybe they'll write to them and say, I want 20 more pieces of creatures that look sort of like that, or in that kind of a style. And I want to really emphasize the bit about style as well, which is if you are an artist that wants to get in the game industry, it's not enough that you're a good artist. It's not enough that you're fast or you're really good with palettes. You also need to be able to understand the style of art so that if you're hired by a company, they don't, if you're a great artist, that's fine, but they want to know that you can do art in their style. So if you're doing a Pokemon game, you need to be able to do art in the style of Pokemon. Or if you're doing a World of Warcraft Blizzard game, you need to be able to do art in that style. So it's a skill you want to kind of cultivate, to understand the style, understand the palette, understand the elements. That style means that the eyes are shaped this way, or the shoes are shaped that way, or the lighting is always coming from this direction. So yeah, learn that.
I love the advice that I got on that same note from my husband actually, who works in the video game industry. He worked at Blizzard for 8 years, and now he's working with Chris Roberts, who did Wing Commander, and now he's doing Star Citizen. And he said, do the job that you want now,
Yeah.
and you will be found. And I thought that was just fabulous, what she was saying about putting up your artwork. And I can speak to the writing side for all of the writers out here. You want to have, just like you want to have that style of artwork for the specific game that you want to work for, it's the same for writing. So if you wanted to write for an MMO, for example, an online game, you would want to have samples of a zone that you created. You wrote out the whole description of who lives there and what it looks like and the mountain ranges or whatever it is, the desert. You would want to have a sample of a weapon design. So if you love the weapons in Mass Effect or whatever game, you would want to go, what else could be used in this particular genre? And then you create a whole new weapon brigade, that could fit right into the game. You also want to do a species design. So if you play like World of Warcraft and you want to invent a new species, you would want to create a whole one-page outline of what that species would look like. And then you're able to go to a convention like this and meet a hiring manager right here. You guys got to connect. And you're able to meet people that are already working in the industry, and you can say, this is my niche, this is what I've studied, this is my craft, this is what I've honed my skills for, and you're already doing the job, and so right away they're going to remember you. Because it's not enough to say, I want to work in games. I've heard every hiring manager say that is actually a turnoff to them, where if someone just comes up and says, I want to work in games, but I don't know what, they actually say, that's the worst, because they want to know that you've already selected your passion, what drives you, and you've already studied it and worked at it, and I'm seeing you nodding, so
If it's someone who's young who says, I want to work in games, it's okay.
Sure.
Right.
Adult, post-college kids, you have a leeway.
So for someone, and I agree, and you want to develop something called an elevator pitch. Who here knows what an elevator pitch is? Okay, a few people, I'll go in. The elevator pitch is something that everyone should have. This is your chance. You're at a convention. Imagine, you have just stepped into an elevator with someone who can make all your dreams come true. You have their exclusive attention until the doors open on the next floor. So maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Now you want to know what it is you're going to say to them before you get into that elevator. Because if you're in the elevator and like, oh, I really wanted to meet you, and the doors open and they're gone. So you want to be able to tell them very briefly what you're looking for, and some sort of call to action, a way to continue, something that gives them a positive thing. So, do you have an elevator pitch? Just off the top of your head?
I'm not really looking for a job right now.
Okay, that's all right.
I'll give you an example. If
Sure.
someone
What's
wants to
your
know
elevator
something
pitch?
about my book, I'll say it's a video game thriller with a female protagonist going head-to-head with a hacker who's manipulating players inside and outside the game, a game that I created for the book. And that always gets them to ask, oh, what kind of game?
Right.
Oh, what did you play? Because what inspired the game that I created? So I'll say Final Fantasy 11 and World of Warcraft, and so that will get their attention.
Right. So, absolutely. So a typical, or a good elevator pitch, if someone got into an elevator with me, a good elevator pitch would be, they'd say, oh, hi, I hear you work at Blackgate Games. I've always been interested in getting into the game industry. I'm a 2D artist. I've been practicing different types of art. I have a web page at, or here, even better, here's my card, right? Can I contact you to ask you more questions about getting into the game industry? Right there, because when you say, can I contact you, people are always going to say, and it's rare. Some people are going to go, sorry, I'm busy, they're on their phone or whatever, but you've made your best shot. You're never going to be 100% on these things. If you're a coder, you might say, hi, I'm a C# coder. Do you think that that's the best language for someone to use to get into the game industry? Boom, and you're getting that. And sometimes they'll get out of the elevator and they'll go, okay, walk with me for a few minutes, and they'll tell you more stuff, which is great. And again, sometimes they're going to walk away. That's okay. But you prepare what it is you want to tell them about yourself and what it is that you want to use as a call to action to continue.
Absolutely. Love that. David, anything to add?
I was going to say, yeah, if you do a business card, like I have my game info and illustration on the back. Like if you're an artist, put illustration on the back. It's like hardly
Free advertising.
any more cost, because no one's going to remember what this is when they see you later, unless you were just really awesome in person. But
I could speak for an hour on just the whole etiquette of business cards. Like when you have a business card, don't do those silly plastic ones that you can't write on. That's a mistake, because when someone gives me their business card, if I'm at all interested or I want to respond to them in some way, I'm going to get a pen and I'm going to write on the back of their business card, so-and-so is interested in my book. Send them a copy of my publisher's name. I'm going to write that on the business card. At the end of the day, I'm going to get back to my hotel room, I'm going to take my bag, I'm going to dump it out, I'm going to have about 75 business cards, and then I'm going to put them in different stacks. And one stack is going to be, I don't remember who this is, I don't remember anything about them, and another stack is going to be stuff that I wrote, okay, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to break down those stacks into, I need to deal with this now, or I'll deal with this someday. And even the I'm going to deal with this now stack, I may not get to for a couple weeks, but by writing on the card, I have a much better shot of remembering who it was.
Love it, love it. Well, I've always asked to bring up, not just the warm and fuzzy feelings about working in video games, but actually the challenges, what to expect. So you can really try to think about, is this the career for me? So I'd love to hear from you guys if you can tell us a little bit about the omnibus. Can't speak today.
Omniscient.
Yes.
Omnibus.
Crunching. Can you tell us the realities if
trying to ship a game at the last.
Yes,
Yeah, okay,
thank you. Such a long day.
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard to explain until you are making a game, but like the first little bit is always so awesome because you got this fresh idea, and it doesn't take as long to get like the basic mechanic going. It really happens pretty quick. But then it's all the polish that really drags you down, and that's when you get to this crunch thing of, well, the menu needs to slide in, this thing needs to animate, and it needs to be a little sparkly and have sound effects here, and that's where you spend hours and hours. And your motivation's kind of gone at that point, so you gotta, you just have to power through it. And like when I was trying to ship Cowbell Fever, I was trying to make it for Christmas. And I didn't make it. It was just, I was doing these crazy hours. But I would work like, I don't know, an extra 30 hours a week trying to finish this game. And, I felt like if I stopped that momentum, I would have just gotten out of zone, so I had to just keep powering through it until I got it
So
finished.
it is a reality
It is a
that you
reality.
have to expect for those overtime days. And
It isn't your role.
It depends. I mean, it can be called crunch, and it can be called the death march
Yeah.
going on. And sometimes it's an issue of, perhaps if it's a larger team, it might be an issue of poor project management, or it may be a cause of something, or be caused by something called feature creep, meaning as you're going, oh, well, we'll just add this one other thing. We really want to have a dragon that's around this corner, and like, you know, we'll make the dragon. We're like, but it takes a week to make a dragon, and we haven't even tested
And
the
the
game
ripple
yet.
effect, so like once you change one thing, it affects every part of the project.
Right.
You have your riggers and your lighters and your animators, and so everyone is affected with everything that's added.
So some companies have been really famous for having these death marches, crunches, where they tell everyone, okay, you're not going home, you're staying in the office, we got cots for everybody. Tell your spouses that they'll be back, you know, when the game's over. And I think that's counterproductive, but some companies will do it. And you know, staying up all night to work on a project, some people do really well at that. I find that if I stay up all night to work on a project, I end up putting so many mistakes into it because I was staying up all night that I lose more time the next day fixing the mistakes that I put in because I was exhausted while I was working on something. And it goes for the team as well.
Yeah, but it's a good point to think about flexibility. Whether you're working in a small company or a large company, they're all going to be different, like you said. Some will have crunch, some will not.
Right.
I was also told that there's a lot of developers that I've had that have worked on Call of Duty games, and they said that a reality that a lot of artists and developers didn't know before getting into industry is that it can be actually kind of boring. Because you go into work and you make the same assets day after day.
Right. You're animating just lips. Just lips.
Yes, and so they were able to share a true story to people that want to work in the industry that had no idea that sometimes you are put into a position that you're asked to do something over and over.
In a big company, yeah.
In a big company. Also, they said that a larger company can sometimes be frustrating because the scope can sometimes be so large that you feel almost just, I don't want to say unimportant, but you don't know the scale of the game, so you feel like, man, what am I contributing? Because sometimes everything that you give might get cut out of the game.
Right.
And so sometimes artists have a voice that they do get frustrated that they may work on something, a piece of art, an engine, a part of the engine or the coding for months, and then that part of the game actually gets cut. And
Yeah, and this ties in exactly to the elevator pitch I was talking about. Think about what you want. Do you want to work at a large company? Do you want to work at a small company? There's pros and cons to both. Are you willing to relocate? Do you want to stay in, here in the Nashville area? Did you want to move? Yes, exactly what you were saying before about if you want to be in a city that has a lot of game companies, so it's a target-rich environment, you want to be in San Francisco area, you want to be in Los Angeles, you want to be in Boston or the DC area, you want to be in Seattle, right? You don't want to be in Chicago, you don't want to be in Milwaukee, you don't want to be in Indianapolis. They probably have a few game companies, but they're not going to have a lot of game companies. So my own elevator pitch, when I'm looking for work, it's been at least a year since I was doing this.
no worries.
But my
We're
elevator
family
pitch
here.
is, hi, my name is Elonka. I am a project manager producer. I've been in the game industry for 25 years. I'm very interested in continuing to stay in the game industry. I'm a PMP, I'm a certified Scrum Master. I'm interested in relocating anywhere. I speak several languages.
Wow.
I'm generally best at a small startup company, but I'm also open to working at a larger company. Do you know of anything that might be a fit?
Nice.
So,
Boom, done. We know who you are, what you can do, willing to relocate. That was awesome. That's awesome. David, can you give us a little bit of an idea if someone wants to not move but start their own company, their own video game company?
Yeah,
What's the advice for that?
So, tons of people are doing that now, and that's, if you've worked for a big company, it's a big company no matter what the industry is. Software for shoes or whatever, it's you're going to kind of get that same feeling where you may not know if what you're doing is really that important and all that. So when you do it yourself, you can put all your passion stuff into it. Hopefully you make money at it too, or else it might be short-lived, but it'll be fun. But yeah, so you're typically working on small teams, maybe 5, could even be less, but usually the programmer's not doing the artwork or the music, so you at least have one programmer, artist, musician, maybe someone writing if there's a lot of story content. And you might need someone else to help with website and all that kind of stuff. no one's going to find it. So, and if you're into game development, you may not really be into web development. So, illustrations, for marketing material and all that kind of stuff. So you end up with about at least 5 people, and the great thing is you can develop for iOS consoles now. If you use something like Unity, the price barriers are really low. They've really embraced the indie market so that if your game doesn't make any money, you can still use the software, but not have to pay a lot. Where before you have to pay $10,000, $20,000 for dev kits and stuff right up front before you can even do anything. Now you can get a lot of the software for free, ship your game for free. If you make money, you might have to pay some later, or maybe not. So.
Awesome, very cool. I'm also always asked to talk about classes and education and things that people can think about. Like maybe if I want to work in games, should I go to a certain school? Do you guys have any advice for anyone that might be thinking of taking classes or going to a certain college for video games?
Well, I just got a standard computer science degree. I went to Lipscomb University here in Nashville, which is a very small computer science program, but it was a great school. I mean, I think if you're going software development, programmer route, any computer science degree would be great. Now there's even more specific game development tracks now that didn't exist when I was in college, so by all means go for those if there's one available in your area.
And for writing, I've got an English degree, so it hand in hand.
It depends which aspect of game development you want to go into. If you're a coder, C# is probably one of the most commonly used languages in game development right now. JavaScript, I think if you go on GitHub right now, JavaScript is the most used language on GitHub. But any kind of programming language where you just really understand, you can probably pick up other languages as you go. There are many free sets of tools, as was mentioned. The one I recommend most often to someone who's new to this is called GameMaker. You can download a free copy from yoyogames.com. If you're interested in art, there's many different fine art programs. Schools around the country, I hear a lot of great things about SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design. In Florida, there's Full Sail University, which has some courses that focus on games. But I think any good school, and I don't want to say bad things about ITT or DeVry or any of those things. But
QBC.
Yeah. But any good, reputable school is going to give you a good set of skills. For game design, I've never run into a school that says, yeah, if you want to have a AAA game, go to our school and we'll teach you game design on how to make AAA. Because there's so many different aspects that go into making a AAA game. It's not just you, it's going to be the team, it's going to be the company, it's going to be the funding, it's going to be the project management that's going on, and there's going to be a fair bit of luck. Sometimes you can have an entire team that makes a great game, and then that entire team, intact, moves to another project, and it's not such a good game. So there's a fair bit of luck and just getting the recipe right, getting the spices right.
Absolutely, and I've heard from developers also that they will hire specifically people who can work on a certain engine. I know that Star Citizen was looking for people who could, I think it's the Cry engine, is that right? Or I'm not exactly sure, but I know there's like Unreal Engine or different coding and programming.
Yep.
So you can actually learn a specific genre of coding, and then you'll be hired because you can work on this very specific type of game design.
Yeah, if you want to find out what people are looking for, you want to go to a site called Gamasutra, GAMASUTRA.com, where that's probably the #1 place that people will post game-specific jobs.
Awesome.
You can also go to gamesindustry.biz. Also, you want to go on Twitter and look for #GameJobs, and there's just a constant flow of jobs. But the interesting thing about going to the gamasutra.com/jobs page is that they'll have them categorized by programming, by art, by management, and look at the numbers next to each one. So people that are looking for like project managers might be 3 jobs that are up there, and art there might be 10 jobs, and then they'll say programming, it's going to be like 57 jobs.
I had a programmer say that if you always want a job in the game industry, be a programmer.
Yeah.
He said they always are needed.
It's the most in-demand thing. And even in programming, there's going to be the different facets of it. Are you a gameplay programmer? Are you what's called a client-server programmer? The server side is always going to be in demand. are you a coder that can get something onto a mobile device? And I'm just going to give a small, I don't know if rant is the right word, but let's say a tale, which is if you have skills, even if you have never worked in the game industry, put them on your resume. Even if you have not been paid to do something, but you're just a hobbyist who loves to do something, put it on your resume. I've seen people at game jams. I'll talk briefly about game jam.
Let's ask you next.
48
You're connected.
Oh my God.
You're connected, Elonka.
48 hours. If you want to get in the game industry, make a game. Go to a game jam. It's a 48-hour event.
Can you
People show up.
explain what a game jam is, just in case anyone hasn't been there?
It's a 48-hour event. People show up and on Friday, a theme is announced. By Sunday, games have to be done. So we just had a game jam here in Nashville about 2 weeks ago. We had 50 people show up. We made 7 games in 1 weekend.
Wow.
There's also the Global Game Jam, which takes place in the end of January. At the last one, we had teams in 73 different countries, all on the same weekend, all making games. I think we made 4,000 games in 1 weekend. So any major city that you're in is probably going to have a game jam. Just go and Google game jam. And I forgot what I was talking about before we talked about game jam.
You were talking about how hobby skills and game jams
Thank
add
you.
to your
Okay.
resume.
So you're hired.
That just happened.
Sweet.
So I've seen people at game jams, they come in and they make a game in 48 hours. They get it onto an Android phone in that weekend. They get it on the Google Play Store, and it's downloadable by the public all within 48 hours. And I go, oh my God, give me your resume. I get their resume, and all it says on the resume is currently attending Southern Illinois University.
No.
Like, you have skills. You have skills. If you're a hobbyist, put it on your resume. Put what you're good at. And I'll tell you as a hiring manager, when I get resumes coming in, and I get them coming in pretty much every day, and I'll generally set them aside, and then once a week or sometimes once a month, okay, and I'll start going through the resumes. And a resume we'll generally look at for maybe 5 seconds. We're not going to look at each resume carefully. We just don't have the time. Sure. So I'm going to be looking at those resumes, and 90–95% of the time it's going to be, I'm looking for a reason to say no.
Wow.
So I'm just putting like, nope, 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 nope. But if somewhere on that resume it says, participated in a game jam, right there that resume goes into the maybe pile.
Wow.
For me, because I give a lot of weight to anyone that goes to a game jam.
Interesting. Well, that's really interesting because we want to hear what hiring managers think about what stands out, because I've heard that consistently. There are a lot of resumes coming in for game development. So what makes you stand out? And I think it goes back to what we all agree about: is find your passion, find what drives you, what excites you about games. Because there probably is a job in video games in any category. Like we mentioned, there's just a plethora. David, what do you think? Best advice for pursuing a video game career? Anything we need to cover?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I get contacted through my website pretty often, actually. People and they know I'm a small indie team, but they just want to collaborate, work on some games with me. And the thing that always I look for is they should be working on something now, even if, like everyone has a game concept, and they should be developing that to some extent. If you're just an artist, you should be drawing some artwork for this game you'd eventually like to make with a small team. Or if you're a musician, you should be making game music. Even if you don't have a team and you don't have a project right now, if you're a programmer, you should be dabbling with Game Maker or something. You should have some little demo. Because all these tools are just out there for free, so you should just be creating stuff.
I actually have a comment on that. David and Chris Cotton, one of his compadres, actually gave me an excellent piece of advice as an artist looking for a job. They said, you have an idea, create the artwork for it, and then find a programmer that will use that artwork and make a game with it. So if you have the skill to create art, do what your skill is, and then find somebody that can help you make it real. And that was an excellent piece of advice. I thought.
Also, something to bounce off of that: do Twitch. Stream your drawings on Twitch. Announce it through your Twitter, through social media. If you have a YouTube account, do that. You don't have to be doing it for a particular company. Sometimes, if you're friends with a company, they'll promote you. If you're good friends with them, they'll promote you, even though you may not be working them directly.
That's a great point. So just so that everybody can hear, he was mentioning Twitch. Stream your skills on Twitch.
I actually, as an artist, I have, there are some artists that are kind of reluctant to do things like that because they're afraid that their artwork is going to be taken and used for things that they're not involved in. So that's definitely a concern, but I get where you have to balance putting yourself out there and taking those risks, you know.
Okay, so the other thing here, you mentioned that artists are sometimes hesitant to put their work out there because it may be taken without their consent.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any comments on that? Should you copyright things, or is there a certain thing you should do before putting your work out there, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you should try and protect your stuff, but you have to be visible now. So, I mean, you're just gonna, you don't want to miss opportunities, and it's going to get out there. Whatever you draw, I saw something from a game I haven't released yet. It's someone's Facebook avatar, which I have no idea who the person is. And I don't know what happens. People find cool art, they take it, and you know, people download games free that or shouldn't be cracked IPAs and all IPKs and stuff. But you can't really let that hold you back because that's just part of the industry, and you need to get yourself out there.
Right, if someone's an artist, you have to have a web page. If you don't have a web page or a DeviantArt page, the resume is going to go in the no file. Another one of my pet peeves is someone who sends a resume and says that they have web development skills, they're very good at HTML and JavaScript, and I say, okay, let's see your web page. And I haven't made a web page yet.
Oh, man, wait a second.
Don't send a resume saying you're a good web developer unless you have a web page. Just finish thought. So if you're a coder, you want to be able to show things that you've worked on. If you're a designer, again, you want to have a web page and you want to have little clips of games you've done. You don't need to put up the full source code of a game, but have a little video, 15, 20-second video saying, this is a game I worked on. Whether it's a game jam game or something you did as a hobby, and that gives a very busy hiring manager a quick way to scan the things you've done, and it shows that you know how to design a web page and lay it out in a coherent, easy to understand fashion.
Love it. Awesome. Well, now it's time for our game, our giveaway, our question giveaway. It's so exciting. David has awesome giveaways. But before we start that, I just want to let you all know how you can stay in contact with us. I have a booth here at C10. I'll be autographing books for the rest of the day, and that's an artist alley. And of course, you can find me at genesedavis.com, on Facebook and Twitter. And Elonka, how can people follow you and stay in touch?
I'm on Twitter as Elonka Dunin, and if you just Google Elonka, elonka.com, you'll find info. And the company I'm at right now is blackgategames.com.
Perfect. David, how can we follow you?
You can go to digitalherogames.com. That's my website, and it's Uber Arcade on Twitter. If you can't remember that, it's all linked on Digital Hero Games. So go there, find me.
Okay, awesome. All right, we'll hold up the first giveaway, and I want to see hands go up for the giveaway. Awesome. All right, what is your question?
Okay, I've been in my head, and sometimes just for fun with my brother and some friends, coming up with different ideas for games that we could play just in our heads and in real life. Like I had one where we got trapped in an alternate dimension.
Okay. So is the question about what other games to play, or is it about
how you take ideas that you get, but you don't really know how to convert them into.
Okay, so you have an idea, how do you convert it to a video game?
You want to Google game design document, GDD. And especially on gamasutra.com, there's a lot of information on how to write a game design document. And if you have an idea, write it down, because it may be super clear to you today, this week, this month. Next year, you go, oh yeah, we have this great idea back at and it's going to be gone. So write down, even if you're just writing down a paragraph of what it's about, or you can write down several pages, the summary of what it is. What are the main characters that are in the game? What's an example of 30 seconds of gameplay? Just write it.
Love that. All right, step up and pick either a soundtrack or a comic book. Step up, step up. I saw your hand. I saw your hand next.
Yeah.
What's your question?
So my question is for Elonka. I know that Blackgate Games.
Got 6 minutes. I got to get everybody.
Blackgate Games. You guys have 3 jobs posted right now. This is on careers, of course. So you guys have 3 jobs right now, and I know that you're shopping a big IPP. Are you guys going to add jobs soon, or?
The question is, are you going to add jobs?
And you can just send me a resume.
Send your resume.
Just send me.
All right, I saw a hand
Just
right
send me
there.
a
Was it
I'll
your
do it.
hand? Yes.
How do you guys deal with like haters?
Oh, step up and get your prize. What was the question?
How do you guys deal with haters? Like
How do you deal with haters? It's a great question. I'll take this one.
Shake it off, shake it
Yes.
off.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. You know, I feel like in every industry
No, you're fine.
Did I miss a joke? I'm
No.
sorry.
I think it's
I was just going to say that I've always been given the advice to ignore trolling and hating because it's always for the drama.
Don't feed
It
the
has
troll.
nothing to do with you personally. It's always the bully, the person that just wants to ignite the discussion and get people going back and forth. And so I've had to be told time and time again because I am a sensitive soul. And so just remember, it's not personal and it's all for the drama. They're just throwing out things to throw it out there. Doesn't mean anything.
Now, if you're dealing with something personally, feel free to come on up and we can give you more specific advice.
Absolutely. And again, it goes back to we want to connect. So please get our business cards and we'll get to your questions. Okay, I saw a hand over here. Yes. Oh, and step up and grab your prize.
get a
Come on
prize.
up. Go ahead.
How do you, like, for game quality testers, how would you get your work out there?
For game quality testers, how do you get your work out there?
Have a website with no typos, for one. Have a resume with no typos, and also, whenever you send a resume, send it with a cover letter, and it can be an email cover letter, it doesn't need to be an attachment, and that cover letter needs to be without typos. And I've had people write to me looking for QA, and they say, I've always wanted to work for, and then they misspell the name of my company.
Oh,
That is not a way to get a QA job. But write in, say what you understand, and I have a QA test, quality assurance test, I'll send back to you, and then you send it to me, and then I'll know how good you are.
and you can always ask an editor or another pair of eyes to look at your work, because that's always a great thing. Come on up and get your prize. I saw a hand over here. Yes?
What about pencil and paper artists then?
Pencil and paper artists.
Yeah, we've definitely been talking about computer games, but there's a whole other genre of game, the tabletop games. Again, just scan the work, put it up on DeviantArt. Still make a web page for it, even though it's pencil and paper art. I have no problem with reviewing that kind of art. It doesn't have to be computer art.
Son, yes?
What if you are good at doing the games and getting the ideas to get the games out there, but actually designing them and everything else? You're not good at that.
Work with a group.
Work with a group. Great advice. I love that. I saw another hand. Yes?
How long does it take to make like a simple cutscene?
How long does it take to make a simple cutscene? Oh, it's a really good question. I am married to a producer who creates cinematics for video games, and for a simple cutscene, it can be about a month, and then for a really complex scene, it can take up to a year. So it's a very, very huge range, but for simple, 30 days.
Yeah.
Go on up for your
Or if you're at the 48-hour game jam, an hour.
There you go. See, I'm in the mind of bigger companies.
Well, a lot of it has to do with quality too, though.
And also type of cutscene you're doing, because it could just be an in-game cutscene.
That's true.
And there are a lot of resources out there. I know, like Steam's Team Fortress 2 has a theater mode which does that, which will let you modify it
I love it.
from something like that.
Say if you made an independent video game by yourself and there's a lot of other people that you're involved with, how do you go about, not ripping people off or,
Interesting. How do you go about not ripping people off?
We just give them credit, put a credits page, say thank you to all these people. That, just saying thank you has enormous value. Huge, huge value.
Awesome.
Well, I would definitely always have contracts in place to keep you working with. So it's clear who owns what property. Don't ever make things ambiguous, because that's how you get the road down.
Yeah, we could talk for an hour on the legal issues of creating games. You want to do it on your own, you want to create a company.
Right, yes.
If you wanted to start an indie dev team, how would you suggest finding people for that?
If you wanted to start an indie dev team, how do you suggest finding people for that?
Do you live in Nashville? Join the Nashville Game Developer Group on Facebook and say, hi, I'm looking to create a team.
Awesome. Yes, in the back. Oh, come on up for your prize.
If you were a musician and you were interested in doing music or anything for a game, how would you go about putting yourself out there?
You know what? I just had a composer on my panel in Chicago, and he said that the way he broke into the industry was coming to a convention. He had his composing, his music that he composed on some kind of SoundCloud, and he went up to developers, met them very cordially and politely, and just said, I'm a composer, I have a sample of my work, I'd love for you to hear it, or can I contact you and send you a sample of my work? And it was because he had it right there, ready for them to listen to, that he got a job.
Yeah.
So come on up for your prize.
And go to game jams, because normally, every game that's there probably needs music, and then you can have music that's in a game. And now those games have credits pages, and your name is now the credits page of the game, and this is now part of your body of work.
Yes.
You put it on your resume.
Perfect. Yes, sir.
I know there's some third-party like freelance sites for writers, artists, musicians. Are those good sites to also advertise on, or?
Are those good sites? What sites do you mention?
I'm completely blanking on. But that's a good route to go
Is it a good idea to
for
post
something
your
like.
work on certain sites?
No, I know that there's. I'm thinking my father off the top of my head, who's composes and writes, and is looking for just freelance work. Is that something that's good for the game industry as well?
Yeah, I've bought music off sites where people just have it for sale, for whatever use. And I went to comic book illustration. So this game has a lot of comic book style illustrations in the game, and I made this as a promotional thing. But I went to comic book artists for the good person to work on this game with me. I didn't go to some game site looking for game artists. I knew I wanted that style, so I needed a comic book guy. So it was on sites where they were published. We're looking for work.
Awesome. Get out there for your prize. All right, we are officially out of time, but you can still come up and ask your questions because we can mingle. But before that, let's give a round of applause for